So let's end it with Mr. Miyagi's box. We find out
Yep.
there's some boxing gloves, which leads us to a gym. And the biggest, it's not even like aha moment. The biggest reveal, just kind of like WTF, like, wait, what is going on now? And you didn't know this because I had to explain it to you, right? So Keisuke Miyagi is the name that we hear in the next Karate Kid in the opening sequence when Medal of Honor recipient Keisuke Miyagi is in attendance for, I forget what it is. And so it was never mentioned in the first movie, but there's a translation to something with Mr. Miyagi's name on it that translates to Nariyoshi Miyagi. So for decades, people knew that it was Nariyoshi. And so when the next Karate Kid came out, a lot of like hardcore fans took exception to that too and just saying like what that's not his name. Like we know what his name is, blah 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 blah. So a lot of people would discount like the next Karate Kid as a movie. The creators have always said, as far as I can remember, that they consider the next Karate Kid part of that Miyagi verse. Shout outs to Are You Karate Kidding Me, who coined that, because it has Mr. Miyagi in it, so it's considered the Miyagi verse. And
Hmm.
so, having said that, with this new movie, if there's no Mr. Miyagi in it, they don't consider this canon, even if Sony does by having Daniel LaRusso in it with Jackie Chan. That's a whole other conversation, Phil. We're not going to get into it.
Okay. All right. All right.
But
Okay.
but what this scene tells me is that, and here's a very popular theory, and this is something I theorized as well, getting the screeners a little bit early, is that this is setting up for like a spinoff. At least that's what it feels like, because you're introducing a lot more information. Like I just mentioned earlier that the creators are not looking to rewrite history, but if they get things wrong, they're gonna explain it in a very interesting way. And we're headed there. We got no answers. We got some Chinese currency. We got boxing gloves, a passport with his real name and date of birth. So there's things that Daniel doesn't know about him, and neither do we. So we're Daniel right now. We're trying to figure all this out. Even chosen throughout the possibility, like, what, did he have a brother? Because we joked in the fandom. Oh, that's his brother. That's not even the Miyagi we know. They just look alike. That's his twin brother. I
Yeah.
even made a fun graphic because I was able to get like Doctor Strange's like little portal thing, and I put both Miyagi's from both movies, one and four together, and one was seen through that Doctor Strange portal, and it's like, "Hi, I'm Nariyoshi. Who are you?" 'Cause it's Keisuke. Like you look alike, but you guys are not the same character.
Got it.
So I think they're about to kind of explain that away, so that way we have like every information is correct, right? So
Okay.
now, yeah, if we introduce anything from the next Karate Kid, it's canon, and yeah, that information was wrong in that movie, but this is how Cobra Kai explained it, and I think that's what they're doing. Um, so what are your thoughts? My main thoughts is that it's setting up for a sequel, a spin-off.
Um, as far as the name or just the box in general, or
Kind of everything in general, because like the you introduce the whole thing with Kisuki. You didn't have to address that. The reason I feel they are is because to possibly set up a spinoff and or the reintroduction of Julie Pierce into the Miyagi verse, who we haven't seen yet, played by Hilary Swank.
or I mean, or they could just do that to like retcon something into making it canon or something like that, right?
It just seemed kind of like a lot of time dedicated to that.
Mm. Um,
The,
I'm not too knowledgeable about that, so it didn't really elicit any kind of thoughts in my mind.
okay.
But what what did resonate is um, whether like chosen was like, hey, whether they should open the box or not, and do you want to see it? And like, there's no turning back once you do open it, and it kind of got me thinking, like, does it really matter what someone really is or what they are to you? If the contents of the box are less than flattering, does it really matter? Because you mythicize this person to be who they are. Chances are, you know, we put this person on a pedestal and we mythicized them and made them greater than what they really thought of themselves potentially. But it shouldn't really like marginalize what you. I mean, it shouldn't really take away from what you originally thought. Like, in a way. I mean, for instance, like our generation has mythicized Michael Jordan. Like six rings and never been defeated or blah blah blah. And part of it is just the uh, like Nike and all the different videos and stuff that we would see, and you know um, and maybe today's generation doesn't necessarily have that because they have social media or whatever, but it doesn't really take away how we feel about them. Like maybe that's kind of a weird tangent, but I don't know. Like maybe if I guess we're finding in this day and age, like sometimes knowing too much about someone can change how you feel about what they were to you, I guess. Like we're in this day where celebrities are so accessible that we just view them differently than celebrities of the past. And to Daniel, Miyagi could do no wrong, and no one else seems to have felt that way about Miyagi that we have seen, except for Daniel. And Daniel will tell the stories of Miyagi to everyone else, and no one else really feels, you know, like he's this Jesus-like figure other than Daniel. You know, but that doesn't rob what Miyagi was to Daniel, if that makes sense. So
Right.
I don't
Uh,
know. I
It's
you know
it's
whether if this stuff about Miyagi was true or not, it shouldn't really impact Daniel, right? Unless Miyagi did some really horrible stuff and that made but like the stuff they accused him of was pretty minor to begin with, anyways. He just
oh
wasn't
yeah,
perfect. Who is,
it's out
right?
of context. It's out of
Yeah.
context, and so like, are they going to show that in a flashback? Is that flashback going to lead into a spin-off to learn more about what we don't know about Mr. Miyagi? At the end of the day, if the spin-off happens and it's a limited series, one season, something like that, at the end of that show, we're still going to feel the same. But how cool would it be to actually explore, these stories, the unknown, and get more layers of a badass, right? Like we know he's a badass. Show us young Miyagi that was even more badass, that was also human and had flaws and faced the law and stuff like that. Daniel found out a little bit about that in season 3 from Chosen. And so why are you setting up all of this? Because I feel we're going to explore it a little bit more. So because obviously, as of right, leading into those final moments of episode 5, excluding the arrival at the Sekai Tekai, seeing Tori with Green Cobra Kai, towards the end of that episode, we get a callback to that Miyagi box because Sam is, putting on her headband, or maybe she has it on, and at some point Daniel sees the headband, and he's like, "Oh, that looks familiar." We didn't see it the first time they opened up the box. They purposely kind of hid it. You can kind of see it if you go back and look at it, because I did that.
Hmm.
And he finds out that Mr. Miyagi too fought in this Sekai Tekai. If he didn't fight, at least has some sort of ties to it. This headband that he kept all these time has some significance. Also had dried up blood in the back of it. So, it was a brutal fight. So there's a story to all of this, and there's no way they introduce this and leave that unanswered.
And it kind of contradicts what Miyagi talked about with Daniel before, like in the movies, right? Like that he was kind of against tournament fighting to begin with, isn't he?
And there's probably a reason for it, right? Which is
Yeah.
probably the Sekai Tekai. So now we understand
Yeah.
in hindsight. You go back and you're like, oh shit, that made sense.